the election of officers for the Planning Commission for 2024. Before we go on to receiving nominations, just a couple of things to note. You can nominate yourself for a position. You can be nominated for more than one office, and any member can decline a nomination before it gets to the vote. All right, so first thing is for chairperson of the committee. Are there any nominations on the floor?
Yeah, I make a nomination for Matt Velkovich for chair.
All right, so there's a nomination, there's a motion for chairperson on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor? Yes, sir.
Was there any other nominations?
I'm sorry. Was there any other nominations? Let me back up. I'm sorry. All right.
I
All right.
nominate Kate.
All right. Okay. So there's a second nomination on the floor for Kate. Is there more nominations? All right. So if there's no more nominations, we'll start with the first vote for Matt. So all in favor of Matt for chairperson? Any opposed?
Keep your hands up.
Keep your hands up.
Oh, keep your hand.
Yeah, so she
Sorry.
can see who's voting.
All right. All in favor for Kate?
I'm sorry, first, you need to ask how many were opposed to that, if there were any?
All right. Any opposed?
Not moving forward, we're opposed, right?
I'm
So
sorry.
if we're not for, we're opposed?
Yes.
It's not a, okay, yep, I guess we're,
All right.
because we're voting the other way, okay.
All right. Okay. So do we take a vote for the second person?
No, because you have majority on.
Have a majority on the first.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. All right, so the next one,
Then you would take the vice chair.
okay. So is there any nominations on the floor for vice chair?
I make a nomination for Antonio Mickle for vice chair.
All right. Is there any more nominations on the floor for vice chair? All right. So all in favor for Antonio?
I'll
Did-
second the vote.
Oh, second the vote, I'm sorry.
Antonio.
All right. So all in favor for Antonio? All right.
I guess, Matt, you just
Scoot on down.
scoot on over.
Matt takes the hot seat.
So could you reiterate those out loud for?
All right, okay. So, chairperson for Planning Commission for 2024 is Matt Velkovich. And vice chair for 2024 is Antonio Michael.
And I believe our secretary will remain our secretary to keep us all straight.
You want to move the gavel like over for the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
She's doing her job, that's right.
All right, with that, we have approval of the agenda. Is there any corrections or?
There's one correction for this one. On new business, item number 2, for the label there for what it was zoning, it's from UD to ID as opposed to LI. That was a typo on my part, so that's to be corrected. The staff report was correct, just on that title there, got the wrong district.
So noted, and so,
Which one was that? Oh, I'm sorry. Number 2.
do you have a motion to accept the agenda? Right.
Somebody was wrong too.
I make a motion to accept the agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Next is the adoption of the minutes. Anybody have any corrections or clarifications?
No, I just have a question, Matt. Item number 7, when we talked about the Grand Tree issue, there's a question as to whether or not county council had received input to come up with those revised numbers. That's number 1. And number 2, I believe this has come before council. So I'm not sure if this is an appropriate time to ask what that outcome was, or whether that should go under old business.
Probably not now.
And I'm sorry, was your question specifically from the minutes that are in here?
Yes.
Yeah, I think maybe the best time to ask that would be, you can ask it of Diane or me, maybe after the meeting.
Okay,
Happy to talk about that.
thank you.
Anything else?
You looking for a motion?
Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor to accept? All those opposed? All right. First order of business, rezoning 23-47, Skyline Homes LLC, Elvis de los Santos requesting to rezone 3.98 acre parcel from AGC to RUD. Subject parcel is located at 390 West Rambo Road, Rock Hill. Property is referenced as tax map number 529-00-00-031, Council District 4.
Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too.
Thank you. So this first rezoning here is case number is 2347 for Skyline Homes on West Rambo Road in Rock Hill. Tax map number is 529-00-00-031. The request is to rezone a 3.9 acre parcel from AGC to RUD. And the purpose here this evening is to be able to subdivide the property to be able to create 3 new lots and construct 3 new homes. Property is located in the central part of York County, just south of the city of Rock Hill, on the intersection of Rambo Road and Sims Road. So zooming in here, this area of the county is still relatively agricultural, lots of large lots, but there have been some smaller lots created over time, even in the nearby area. Zooming into the property here, as you can see, this property is heavily treated currently. It is next to areas that have single-family homes. Topography here, there's a little bit of a slope on the property. There are no environmental features, no water features. Zoning for the area. The majority of this area here is agricultural AGC, but there is some RUD nearby, just to the west of that. Comprehensive plan for the area is rural residential. And as we know, that is an area where you have places for a rural character with homes on 1 acre or more, separated by farm fields and pastures. Typically, these have well and septic because there's no utilities in the area. Comprehensive plan, or staff recommends approval. It aligns with the comprehensive plan and the future land use map. Any questions for staff?
Yeah, I do have a question, Diane. So of the parcel on the map on packet page 17, and I don't know if we know this at this juncture, but seems like the 2 to the north that they're going to subdivide would have to come out on Sims Road. And I didn't know where would the driveway for the one at the intersection of Sims and Rambo, where that would be most likely put.
It's really going to depend upon the separation requirements from the intersection of Rambo and Sims, whether they're going to move it as far as they possibly can from Sims, or whether they put it on Rambo towards the back. Likely it's going to be on Sims. That would be my best estimate will be on Sims, and they'll space it in a way to minimize being next to the intersection of Rambo.
Okay,
Probably push everything just to the north then.
okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Is this considered non-conforming since it's not 5 acres?
Well, no, that's why they're making the property rezoned, to be able to have lots that are allowed less than 5 acres.
Right, but is this, it's currently?
Oh, it's currently not, well, it's, yes, by lot size, yes, it's not conforming, correct, good point.
Because it's not a total 5 as it stands now, yeah.
Anyone else have questions? If not, anybody have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? If no discussion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Next item is rezoning 23-48, Stephen McGirt requesting to rezone a 0.89 acre parcel from UD to ID. The subject parcel is located on Garrison Road, Rock Hill. The property is referenced as tax map number 666-03-01-005, Council District 5.
Correct, this is request to rezone the property for case number 2348, Mr. McGirt on Garrison Road. The request is to rezone a .89 acre parcel from UD to ID, and this is to expand the existing grading company or construction services that are there right now, and then to be able to construct a 40-foot by 60-foot building for office space and equipment for storage and maintenance. The property is located in one of our donut holes within the city of Rock Hill. It's more of an urbanized area. It is just to the east of Anderson Road and west of I-77, north of Dave Lyle. Property in the area here is mostly an industrial or distribution, like warehousing areas. There are some homes still existing in the area. For the most part, they're on the west side of Anderson Road, but there is a pocket of homes just in this area on Garrison and Rainy Road. Zooming into the property here, you can see this is the homes I was speaking about on Garrison Road. Property owner the applicant owns all of these parcels here. Their current business is this location right here. The intention is to be able to build a building back in the back part there for warehousing and also be able to store and repair vehicles. Property is relatively flat with no water features. Zoning for the area. This is still some areas here. There's some UD still here, but there is significant ID. Across the street is ID, behind the property is ID, and then recently this property here was rezoned LI for a trucking operation. The parcels here, you'll see some RSF 30, and these are the ones that came in during our UD rezoning process to be able to get the property rezoned from UD to some residential district. That was done a few years ago. But that is the last remaining enclave of residential in the area here. The future land use map for the area recommends municipal infill. And as you know, the intention for that is to be able to have a seamless transition between the county and the town properties. And so whenever we're looking for rezonings, we're going to look at the town's comprehensive plan and their future land use map and see what they recommend. For here, we turn to the city of Rock Hill, and their plan recommends an employment center. Now, we all define those things differently, and for them, it's a blend of medium and small employment uses, like a business park or any kind of special employment centers. So we're recommending approval for the request here. The use is consistent with the development pattern of the area. Like I mentioned, there are other properties here that are zoned or being used as industrial. The property adjacent to that is already ID, and the request will allow an expansion of an existing business. But we've added something here that's not in your packet that we discussed this in staff, And that was to be able to consider a condition. And the reason for that is because of the homes on the south side of Garrison Road are residential in nature, that staff would recommend you include 2 conditions to your request or your approval to rezone. And the one, and I've got pictures to kind of show that how that's going to work, is to have, there's no access from this new property, this new development onto North Garrison Road. And also, prior to site plan approval, the development of this property here, they need to close the access points on an adjacent property, and I'll show you a picture here in a second here. And they're all under the same ownership, so they can be able to close that during that review process. This is what I mean here. So what we're looking at here is a street view of North Garrison Road. And this is the existing building right here. And so the homes are on the opposite side of North Garrison. And so what we're recommending is that you would close and remove this parking area here. They have parking at the front of the building, and then be able to remove that parking, as well as there would be no access point. And here's the property here for subject property. They would not be able to access that from Garrison. All access would come from the adjacent road. And you can kind of see that way there is no access coming off here interfering with the remaining homes that are down here. And I'm going to go back to this drawing, this picture here, and kind of show you where no access here, close the center here, and they can access this new building coming off of their existing curb cut right through here, and therefore minimize the conflict with the neighbors below us. And so we're recommending you to be able to add those 2 conditions. Any questions of staff?
I have a few for you. If we could go back to the map for what you were just showing. Yeah, either that, yep, oh, sorry, back up.
That one?
Right, so all of that is owned by one individual.
Correct.
And it's all UD currently?
Correct.
Okay. Why is this section having to go all the way to ID? Is it because of the use?
It's for the use.
So if it was just a warehouse, it wouldn't have to go all the way to ID?
Correct.
It could be LI?
Correct.
But because trucking operation is involved, is that what's taking it to ID?
It's trucking operation, also construction services, which isn't allowed use in UD, but it's probably more appropriate for ID. Also, because he's building a new building on there, when you're doing that new construction, it sort of forces you to go to get the property rezoned to a new district. It's one of our tools to be able to get folks to rezone out of the legacy districts, is if you develop the property,
Right.
we want you to rezone it.
That's right. What I'm trying to do is make the real distinction of why it didn't stop at LI and had to go all the way to ID.
Construction services.
Because
Yeah.
it's construction services.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you all are talking about with some of the conditions. I'd like to ask, could also one of those conditions be that all of that property needs to become one lot, zoned all the same, since what you just mentioned about going away from UD?
We've discussed that with the applicant, and they chose not to. It's difficult for us to be able to consider if you wanted to add a condition for a property, even though we're adding conditions to a property that is off-site of the rezoning, that may not be appropriate to be able to add that as a condition. We're still going to continue to encourage him to rezone it to ID, and that might come in when it comes time to develop a site plan. There might be reasons for him to go ahead and, that he wasn't aware of, to go ahead and get the property rezoned.
The reason I'm saying is it appears that this is an expansion of the existing business, right? And so the conditions that you are putting in place for this rezoning of this one parcel are requiring him to use the other parcels to access that parcel. And therefore, if he's gonna have to do that, then could we not also have a condition that says all of that needs to be brought under one umbrella, one piece of property, all set as whatever that zoning is, to help break up some of the confusion that could be? In other words, where you're expanding the business, great, you've got all these parcels of land, great, we're gonna put it under one parcel for you, it's gonna be zoned the way it needs to be for that entire parcel, and there we go.
And I understand that. I just think that you are applying a condition to a property that was not part of the application. So they do not apply to do anything for rezoning for the properties outside of that one. And so you're applying to a condition to a different parcel. You can recommend that they'd come through and do that, and staff can continue to recommend that. And like I said, when they come through for the site plan, civil construction plans, they might learn it's better off anyway to go ahead and rezone everything and recombine all into one property.
Okay,
But
and
I don't think that your action, because those 3 parcels are not part of this application.
I'm with you.
So you're applying
I
something that's
understand,
outside
and
of what
we're
they
getting
applied
into
for.
a very, 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 very thin line of what was asked,
Yeah.
what was part of the request, and what we could put conditions on because of what it requested. I'm trying to figure out a way to not slow the process down, because what I'm seeing right now, I would want to deny this because of that, the way that's set up. And I don't know if there's a way for us to do anything different than what you're outlining.
Right.
You follow me?
Yeah, I feel confident that staff can be able to apply the conditions during the development process, during the site plan review, but not so much to be able to apply conditions similar to what you're thinking about, that's beyond what was included in the application. Those
Okay.
parcels were not part of the application.
So if those parcels are not part of the application, how can we put conditions on it that involve those parcels?
We've talked about that, and staff feels that when they come in for the review, for the site plan approval, that we can apply those conditions, because those properties are adjacent, so that we can put those conditions. Well, if you have your access point over here, you need to come in that direction, since he owns all those properties.
But they weren't a part of, they're not a part of the rezoning, and then you're doing development work on UD property, which isn't the
Well, he's
kind of
not
the standard
constructing
that-
new business. No new buildings being constructed on the UD portion. They're just gonna be able to remove an access point, get rid of the parking.
I'd like to make a motion for executive session to talk about this in a little bit more depth and have some legal advice surrounding this recommendation and options that we have for providing
Is there a second?
limitations.
There's a motion for executive session. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? If not, is it all in favor? Anyone opposed? So we will go into executive session and we'll return shortly. continue. I believe there was questions, right, for Diane at this moment? Does anybody else have any questions or
At
anything else to discuss?
this point, I'd like to make a motion to defer.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
I think that I think we all have good intentions with some of the things that have been discussed tonight. After hearing some more information in executive session and getting a better perspective on all this, I think we can spend just a little bit more time getting all the details worked out and maybe not, in the interest of time, do something that could create some issues for the property owner down the road. So I think if I just take a little bit more time and get this done correctly and do it right the first time, I think that's going to really help alleviate us having some other issues down the road. So,
Thank you, Mike. Does anybody else have anything to add? If not, all those in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? Unanimous. Next case is rezoning 23-49, David Long requesting to rezone a 1.5 acre portion of a 13.5 acre parcel from AGC to RUD. The subject parcel is located at 2492 Bridgewater Road, Rock Hill. The property is referenced as tax map number 531-00-00-003, Council District 5.
This request, case number 23-49 for the Longs. Property, the request here is to rezone a 1.5 acre portion of a 13.45 acre parcel from AGC to RUD. And the purpose is to allow the applicant to subdivide the existing single-family home from the larger parcel, and the applicant intends to construct a home on the larger parcel at some time. Property is located in the central part of York County, just about a mile or so from the city of Rock Hill. This area here is still a lot of farming, a lot of large properties, but there has been some influence of new developments coming in. Just to the east here is a subdivision being constructed just along further on Bridgewater Road. Zooming into the property, there's one existing home, which is right here, which is where they want to be able to subdivide to be able to create a parcel just for that home, and then leave the rest of it as AGC. Zoning for the area here, this area is still a lot AGC, but there is some RUD1. Actually, it is adjacent to this property by a little piece right there. So all this here is RUD1. Comprehensive plan for the area is rural residential. And as we know, that's typically where you'll have rural character of homes with 1 acre or more separated by farm fields, pastures, and forests. Typically, there's no water and sewer in the area. Staff recommends approval. The request aligns with the comprehensive plan and the future land use map. Any questions for staff?
I got a question, Diane, on there is a condition shown in here, number 1, that's not,
Okay,
that was
you're right.
not presented.
Not presented, you're right. It's with the condition that they rezone, that they subdivide the property and submit it to the county dues in 90 days. Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's with a condition.
Does that, okay, you were saying, one other question, you were saying that the remaining 11 whatever acres, that's gonna be AGC?
Yes, so they'll leave, the remaining part here will be AGC. So it's 13.5 minus 1.5. And they'll build one home. They may come back in the future and subdivide that into 2 lots and build a second home, but still keep it as being AGC. So all they're gonna do is rezone this portion right here to RUD.
So the condition said that, so that the property must be subdivided so that no more than one zoning district is applied to a parcel.
Right, that's our
That's to the
standard.
remaining parcel, correct?
no,
No.
this is going to turn into 2 parcels.
Right,
Could you go back to your other map real quick? So this is going to turn into 2 parcels, one in the large area minus the shaded area. And so
Correct.
the
The larger
condition
area,
is
okay.
that once this small section of this parcel is rezoned, that within 90 days, that
Has to be recorded.
separate map has to be created and separate
Okay.
tax ID and all that for the rezoned.
That's correct.
Did I get all that right?
Correct. That's
Okay.
that. And the reason for that condition is to make sure they come back when they're done and get that property subdivided. Otherwise, we're gonna have split zone properties. And so that's why we have that condition as our enforcement tool, make them come back and get that taken care of. If they don't, then they are they're in violation of the code.
The couple I had with this is, you're only allowed one house domicile in AGC, regardless of the size of the property?
You can have 2 homes at AGC as long as you have 10 acres or more.
Okay.
Right.
So this
Five.
could be 2 homes on the same piece of property, so long as it was the same property owner for both the homes. It's when you start trying to change ownership that you would need, and I'm getting very theoretical and out there, so just
Okay.
bear with me. Forget about what this says, right?
Right.
So if I've got this 13 acres and I have a house, and I decide I want to build a second house, I could keep all of that under this same tax ID map, but I would
Yeah.
in effect own both the houses.
That's correct.
The moment I wanted to try and sell one of those 2 houses and tried to divide this, now I'm getting into, oh, well, I'm below the limit of AGC, and I've got to rezone to this to be able to fit the acreage and so forth and so on. Is that
Yes,
right?
That's correct. And that's
Okay.
actually the intention here, is to be able to sell that smaller property, to be able to get the money,
Understood.
to be able to
Yep.
build the house for the next one.
Okay.
That is the intent.
Does that help clarify the other part? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Does anybody
Thank
else
you,
have any questions for Dinah?
I'm good, thank you, sir.
Does anybody have a motion?
I'll make a
I'd,
motion.
I'd like to make
Oh.
a motion
Oh, yeah.
to go to executive session.
And you just need to specify, for purposes of legal advice on this matter.
To obtain legal advice on this matter.
Okay, so we have a motion for executive session. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, we are going into executive session. executive session. I believe at this point we are, does anyone have any other questions for Diane? If nobody has any questions, is there a motion?
I'm gonna make a motion to deny this one.
Aubrey?
Motion to deny.
Aubrey.
Aubrey.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I just feel like this property could be subdivided, and still maintain its AGC designation.
I agree with that assessment.
Okay. Does anybody else have anything to discuss or add to it? All right, if not, all those in favor of the denial, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? No? Unanimous. All right. Okay, next is rezoning 23-50, Rosie Thompson and Connie Strait. Applicants, Rosie Thompson, owner, requesting to rezone a 5.25 acre parcel from AGC to RUD. The subject parcel is located at 4420 Horse Road, Rock Hill. The property is referenced as tax map number 426-00-00-030, Council District 5, Ms. Cox.
It's case number 2350 for Thompson Strait on Horse Road in Rock Hill. The request is to rezone a 5.25 acre parcel from AGC to RUD, and the purpose here is to be able to subdivide the parcel to create 2 lots. And then one single-family home will be built on one of the parcels, and the other part of the parcel will be part of agricultural purposes. Property is located in the south-central part of York County, almost the Chester County line. This area here is still predominantly agricultural. There are a lot of large farms through here. There has been some subdivisions nearby. As you can see here, the property here identified in red is a subject property. It's all around it is agricultural uses, and they actually still use that one for that same purpose. The intention here is for the owner to be able to subdivide and build one home towards the front of the property, and then subdivide the parcel to leave this back part here as agricultural uses. The applicant he leases this property here for farming and wants to be able to continue to lease and utilize that property as part of that farming operation. Zoning for the area here, a lot of it still is AGC and AGC1, but is adjacent to property zone RUD. Comprehensive land use plan for the area here is agricultural. And as we know, that is predominantly used for farmlands and timberlands and very low density residential development. Staff recommends approval. This request does not align with the future land use map or the comprehensive plan. However, it is adjacent to parcel zone RUD. There are other parcels in the area here that's similar size. The uses allowed in RUD are the same as AGC, and the applicant intends to continue the agricultural use of a portion of this parcel. Any questions for staff?
Would we put the condition on for?
No, they're doing the entire property. There's no need for a condition. The whole property is being rezoned to.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
Diane, I think I'm questioning the wording on the first sentence towards the end of the project description on page 48. It says to create 2 parcels that are less 1 acre.
Here's a typo on my part, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so what should that read?
Less than 5 acres.
Okay.
Is it necessary to, carve out that portion for the house? I mean, couldn't they build the house and still use the rest of the property for agricultural purposes?
The intention is to be able to sell the property in the back to somebody else to utilize. And so they're going to, yes, they can still, to better pitch, that's a good one. So they want to be able to build a home here, subdivide the property, build a home, and sell the back part of the property to somebody else who's gonna use it for agricultural purposes. That's the intention here.
So that would get recombined with something else then?
No, it'll stay as its own separate parcel. They lease the farming use for the property nearby, so they'll continue to utilize that. It's just, it keeps that property contiguous and the use of that property for farming all the same. So they'll just have a house here,
So-
and that will stay as pasture behind it
So that future picture will be that piece of property
with one house.
subdivided with a house on one part of it and the rest of it
It's
pretty
farm.
much being used the way it is today.
That's correct.
Okay. And so because once we cut it, we're under the 5, then both can't be, neither one of them can be AGC.
Correct, because we're already starting with 5 acres or just over 5 acres, and so therefore neither one would be that property.
But we're already.
Does anybody have any other questions?
In the back portion will be access, this is another road over here on the bottom. No, it's not.
I believe they have easements through other properties to get to the back to be able to utilize that. The applicant is here if you have a question of them. But even still, there will be an easement if there needed to be an access. If you've subdivided here, there will be an easement to go through that property through here to get to Horse Road. It's part of the requirement. But like I said, I believe they already access all through here.
Any other?
I'm sorry, I guess I'm confused. If they need an easement, and they need all this other stuff, could they not just build a house on that as it is and have it, why would it need to be rezoned?
So the intention is to be able to subdivide the property to sell part of the property. So the property owner currently owns this entire property here. They would like to build a home here, or subdivide the property in half, build a home, and then sell this property to somebody else. So the
Okay.
intention here is to be able to sell the back half of the property to somebody else.
And the back half is locked in by other property owners around there,
Sure.
right?
When they came in, it is, when they would come in to subdivide that property, they'd have to provide an easement to the road. Now, there may already be easements from this area here to this road here, we won't know that, but if there's not, they'll have to create an easement, recorded document, to get this property here through this one to Horse Road.
And you said the property right now is being leased for those purposes?
They have farming leases, and I can't speak for exactly which part of the property is here, but I knew they do a lot of farming here, and they lease the property from somebody else, from the property owner, for the purposes of farming. And they will continue to use this for their farming operation.
Hold that picture 1 minute.
Diane, I have a question. Do you know if the same property owner owns any adjacent property?
If this current property owner's owners, no, that's
Mhm.
owned by somebody else. Somebody else
Okay.
owns these properties here.
All right, and I don't know that this is direction, but we'll call it south from the bottom red line, south towards, what is that?
This-
Chapel Road.
yeah.
Chapel Road, all the
Mhm.
way down?
Mhm.
So all of that and coming up to it is already zoned.
This area
That's
here.
not
is
that's not
H- well,
zoned
there is some
RUD, is it?
That is correct. There is RUD. There you go. Oops.
Right, yep. All of
All
that
that
underneath
is-
that is RUD.
Right, which is what supports staff's opinion that it could go to RUD here. You're adjacent to RUD already. That was one of our reasons why we would support the request.
Okay. Which this makes this one a little bit different than the other one that we just talked about, because we didn't have any of that in as close a proximity. Okay, all right,
And
good stuff to think about, go ahead.
the thing that's kind of hang up for me is that
Can you speak into the mic? We can't hear you.
Yes,
Thank you.
So the hangup I have is dividing that piece in half in the middle. You have this landlocked piece that they're hoping to sell to who? You know what I mean? Like that's,
The other applicant.
so
There's
it's,
two applicants on the application here. One is Thompson and one is Straight. Straight is buying the property from Ms. Thompson.
Okay,
Straight is the one who farms the area here, and she'd rather have that being, wanted to utilize
So-
that property
so-
for farming, is
so,
what she,
so there's, the other properties around this are owned
by
by
somebody else,
someone else.
correct?
And then this back piece is gonna be sold for agricultural purposes?
Yes. The intention was to be able to maintain the agricultural purposes on that piece of property. That's how it's being currently used, because they utilize other areas there currently, and that kind of keeps that all together. And if you want, like I said, the applicant is here, and they might be able to address these questions better than I can. That's up to the chair if they'd like to be able to have the questions given to the applicant.
Would you like the applicant, Aubrey, to come up? It's fine.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
It looks like you want.
Yeah, okay.
Please state your
Connie
name,
Strait. Connie Strait.
your address.
My address is 3325 Strait Road.
Thank you.
So are you the person who is selling or purchasing?
I have agreed to, if we can get this worked out, to purchase the land. Rosie is here with me, and she had approached me about buying a portion of this so that she can afford to put her home on the front part. And we own on the corner of, and we farm this. We do farm all the way around it.
Okay.
And we're getting ready to farm across the road on, I guess you'd call that northeast. But then we own on this side, the down part already. Straight Farm Properties owns right in that area, and we rent that land. And for us, it was beneficial for us to just get stuck with 2 acres. It was worth the risk to do that, to be at least a thorn in someone's side in case someone else tried to. We could not buy the land around it if we had to do that. We're just really trying to keep it ag.
Okay. So you'll be having that back portion, it'll be
Yes.
added to your farm?
It's not, we do not own that around it. We lease that.
Okay,
We own across, I don't know what the numbers are, but it's down.
but
It's
to
just
your
right down.
farming practices, you will have that added, that piece? You'll
Yes.
farm that in addition
Yes.
to the leased property around it?
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
we're just trying to keep it ag.
That's
all we're
very
trying-
helpful, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Does anybody have any further questions? Can we, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, wonderful. Is there any further discussion? If not, then all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All those opposed? Yes. Okay. Rezoning case 24-01, York County Council has initiated the rezoning of 20 parcels from UD to the newly created Outdoor Amusements OA zoning district as an implementation of the Exit 90 Carowinds Boulevard Master Plan.
Okay, yep, this is case number 2401. Applicant here is York County Council. It's from the Carowinds Boulevard area in Fort Mill. So the request here is to rezone 20 parcels in the Carowinds area from UD to OA. Its current uses include amusement park, gasoline sales, hotels, fast food restaurants, and retail. RECODE created a new zoning district called Outdoor Amusement OA, and that was an implementation of the Exit 90 Carowinds Master Plan done in probably early 2000s. And one of that was there was a recommendation that to create a new zoning district to be able to eliminate the land use conflict. So you have Carowinds and those things that are around it that are currently zoned UD don't really fit there. So the recommendation from that plan was to be able to create this new district. And so when we created that district, we wanted to make more than just being Carowinds or outdoor amusement. There needed to be something more. And so we also added uses such as hotels, restaurants, retail, gas stations, cultural events, things that would actually complement typical outdoor amusement parks like Carowinds, or things that you'd find in that general area to support them. And so that's why we have more than just, in that district, it's not just Carowinds outdoor amusements. This request will also remove some non-conforming drive-through uses that are not allowed in the UD. So these properties, amongst them, there are a few properties there that are currently non-conforming within the UD. This will remove that non-conforming use. Here's the area here, as we all know, there's Carowinds, and then the properties along Carowinds Parkway. And then we also extended it because the property south of Carowinds Boulevard, because these properties here are also, a lot of them are influenced by what happens at Carowinds. There's some restaurants, there's gas stations, there's hotels. And so this whole area here is considered part of the Carowinds area. And I included here a map of the properties and a list of the current uses. I'm gonna go back here one more. This property here is a different color, and that was the hotel that you guys rezoned here a few months ago. And that had went ahead and went forward because they were ready to move forward with the hotel at that time, and so that's why we already have an OA there. There's a property, there's a use right here, which is Frugal McDougal's. That's a liquor store, liquor sales, and that's not allowed in the OA, and that's why they aren't included. And the South Park down here, this is actually a title loans, alternative lending, and so therefore that's not an allowed use in the OA, and it wasn't included in this application here for these 20 parcels. Everybody else here was included by the council request. Any questions for staff?
Couple quick, just going west of Sierra and Romeo there, the S and the R, what are those large buildings on the south side of Carowinds Boulevard there?
Most of these are, that would be Stanley. These are large distribution sites through here. This is a retail office, light industrial sort of uses through here, and same thing. Once you get, this is Lakemont Boulevard, once you get past these hotels right here, that changes more toward more of a light industrial, large business office kind of thing. So it changes different here in this part of the property.
But that all, today is still all UD, right? Till you go.
Yeah,
Isn't
it's a
that right?
combination. There's some properties south of that have already been rezoned to LI or already were LI. So it's just pretty much this front property up here are still, so that would be the ones that are, these larger properties here that are still UD.
And all, you were talking about nonconformities, but those larger things in UD today would not be nonconforming in UD, or should they really? I know we don't have UD anymore, right?
UD is a legacy district, so
Right.
you cannot rezone to that. So
Right.
we're doing things to encourage folks to remove that district.
Right.
Some
But these,
things-
but those buildings you looked at, Stanley, this and that, those would still be acceptable uses within UD. There's not something that really needs to push them to LI, is there? Other than
No.
it being a legacy.
Yeah, I would like to see them do that. I would
Right.
encourage them to do that. Anybody that comes in further down that has UD, we kind of have them get rezoned, but a likelihood of that ever getting rezoned is slim. There's no reason for them to.
Okay.
Except maybe if they could, if they were considered non-conforming, they could for their mortgage purposes. And financial.
That's what I'm wondering, if there's some non-conforming uses still
Yeah,
in that,
Yeah.
that they really should be going over to LI, right?
Yeah.
Which you guys do at no charge. They just ask to
That's
have it
correct.
done, and you get them lined up with the right stuff, and then they
Yep.
don't have anything to worry about. Okay,
That's correct.
thank you.
Diane, what are the two parcels that are not going to OA?
So this would be the property over here that has Frugal McDougal's.
Okay?
And then further down here, this property that's back in here has
Yeah,
a alternative
well-
lending.
Yeah,
Used to be the old El Cancun.
yeah.
Where-
Now, that remaining portion, that blue, go to the other map. Yeah, the light, light's green.
Well, the one here, little teal
Yeah,
color
that's
thing,
Is that
aquamarine?
outdoor amusement?
That is already outdoor amusement. That was the hotel I
Oh.
spoke about that was rezoned a
Yeah.
few months ago.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any other questions? Would anybody like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Just what we've been working toward, so. That's all I have to say. All right, so, anything else? If not, all those in favor of the motion? Anybody opposed? It's unanimous. And then, a tracking sheet. Anybody have any questions? I do have one question for you. I know at times, some rezoning item matters are put on hold. How long is it on hold before it expires, I guess? Is there an expiration in the process?
There's not officially an expiration for the process, but we are actually just about completing a policy that will state that, and that would be after a period of 6 months, depending on where they are, that they would have to be closed out. And so we're trying to get to an actual policy because there hasn't been one right now.
Does anybody have anything else? If not, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second, whoever.
Discussion, all those in favor? We are adjourned.